but it's not really what gives you long-term serotonin, actual happiness, actual higher purpose. It's a drug. It's like smoking a cigarette.
Can you cook? Can you hunt?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah? Can you fight?
Of course.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, but he does
like you do fighting.
This is,
So you're good. You're still a hard man deep down. Even though you started your career online looking for trouble, you're still a man.
No, I didn't start
There's a lot of
looking for
men.
trouble.
There's a lot of men that can't do that. I'll ask them, "Can you hunt?" They're like, "Can you
And
fight?"
we tell them to. And this is the reason that Justin Waller is so successful and why people like need this online is because men can't live in this. I don't believe in. I'm not going to say you need to improve or else you're going to fall behind.
Yeah.
Women can believe in this delusional. They can just believe in nothing. They can say I'm going to be a rapper with cats when I'm 65, and then people won't check you. And if I do check you, I'm misogynistic.
Yeah.
When you uplift men and you tell them the truth, it's like, yo, thank you for telling me that. I need to improve. Women don't want to hear it. They want to stay in this cycle of nothing.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, because obviously you're not sitting here with guys that are not like you, then you can't sit here and obviously say, yeah, women are also acting a bit more masculine.
I do. I have my friends from back in the day, from back in New York. A lot of them are still in the same spot that they were in college, and I tell them, man, like you got to step your game up.
That's good. So
I'll talk to them the same way.
So
it sounds aggressive, but that people need to hear that, or because no one talks to them like that.
Okay, so that's nice because you saying that and you being able to own up to that brings more balance to your argument. Because the problem is when we sit in these conversations, we're usually saying women.
Well, the difference is the men to get on this podcast. Here's the difference: you can just be a girl and be on this podcast. We don't really care what you've done. To be a man on this podcast, you've had to have done something.
Yeah,
they're not just gonna. You think they're gonna go to a club and like recruit guys to be here?
Yeah.
You wouldn't sit here. These guys are accomplished in their field. That's why we get to sit down with average women.
And do you know why you get to sit down with average women? Not me included, obviously.
Me either.
You're above average. You're different.
Thank you. Because actually, there's a massive need and urge for people to get onto women, which I do get, but then there's also a moment where you have to chill out because you're not actually speaking to just average women. You don't actually know it's from anywhere. So when you have an attitude of almost like wanting to make us patronize almost what we say with such a challenge, that's why you come across as misogynistic.
Well, I need to get through because this is a common problem that a lot of guys face. She started off by saying she's vibrating with misogyny, and then
you're vibrating, not me. And what I feel to say.
And then people don't check that. Like it's important to check that. You can't just let that slide.
Hold on, what I feel to say. Actually, never mind.
Exactly.
Continue.
Like you need to call it out when people make no sense, or else we're gonna keep living in clown world.
Can I challenge you both?
I feel like these new age internet men are like very destructive to these young men out there because you have an opinion, you have a voice, you're very vocal about it, and you stand strong in your point. And like you got this Andrew Tate passport bros thing. Is that what you're getting at? Because that's going back in different countries, women are feminine, la la la. Sounding like some nonsense stuff that other guys jump because a guy's never going to look at a woman for influence. Like, let's be real. Not real men. A lot of men will not look, and this is why in rap and other fields where women are at the top, men will not. They don't look at you and think, oh.
Yeah, but
this person can influence this person can influence me, or this person it can't come from a woman. But whereas if Andrew Tate does it, it's like, oh yeah, let's jump on the bandwagon because he's a guy, I'm a guy. Like you only want to relate to someone because of a gender role. Like let's be real.
One of the reasons that's happening though is because people like Tate and the gentleman sitting here are redressing the balance because the reason that they've been so popular and they've blown up to such an extent is because they're going against what is the prevailing narrative, and the prevailing narrative is basically telling guys, be a nice guy, buy her flowers, take her on 15 dates, this kind of thing. And all of that kind of thing hasn't worked.
But the first thing that he said is that he's a nice guy. So refine what you mean by...
he's a nice guy.
Yeah, so what does that mean then? So he's a nice guy, but he's like this and he's like that. Like, it's not making any sense. Like I said, these internet boys, a lot of men on the internet are being brainwashed. Like, they are being... Like, the women... Okay, yeah, the women are being brainwashed. But, yeah, we have maybe a few sensible men who can... You're not going to go for every single woman anyways. There's one wife.
Okay,
one life, one wife.
What did they say? What did they say that's not true?
What have they said that's not true?
Andrew Tate. Name one thing he said not true.
No, I don't
or me
disagree
here
with
now.
what
Yeah,
I don't
Sneeko.
disagree with what Andrew Tate says. I'm just saying that he's influenced.
Sneeko. What did he say
It's
that's not
how
true?
he's saying it. Like, there's a way to say it, and I don't
There you
agree.
go.
Then a lot of the things
Feelings
that you
over
have
facts.
said. No.
That's enough.
And I have said-
That's enough.
That's the perfect point, because brainwashing implies that you're lying, that you're feeding them a lie. It's not what I'm saying, because you can't refute any of it. It's how I'm saying it. And this is the Western world. We prioritize the way you feel, your vibrations of misogyny, over what is true and what's false.
But people are not going to listen to you if you're not telling the truth. What
yeah.
you're saying is flying over a lot of people's heads. All you
Yours.
want, no, not mine, because I don't believe in what you're saying anyways.
There you go.
Like, you said, you know a woman's nature. Like, you will never know a woman's nature. You don't bleed once a month, bro. You're never going to know
That's
what
got
it's
nothing
like.
to do with
no,
that.
but it's a woman's nature. So what are you talking about? It's a woman's nature, female nature.
Wait,
It goes hand in hand. So what's your point?
Okay. I want to hear from you. You haven't talked much. So
Yeah, no, I don't think that's got anything to do with it. And another thing, I want to go back to the misogyny thing. I feel like people just throw around whatever they feel, whatever they want to say, but they don't want to hold accountability for it.
Yeah.
Like, you can just say whatever. You can say whatever, but he can't say the same thing, because then he will, you will throw a bitch fit.
Can I challenge the both of you? I'm sure most of you guys can agree that men are becoming more feminine. Can you kind of understand why that's forced women to almost become more masculine?
But this is why.
No, but that's because of women. That's
Can I just say one thing though? This is why, because you've mentioned Andrew Tate, people like that, and obviously, as you said, the gentleman here. The reason that those people have risen to prominence is because the West is out of balance, right? They are there redressing the balance. They're going against the prevailing narrative. And the main thing that they're preaching, everybody, is self-improvement, because men have to, like you said, men have to step up. We don't get a choice to not step up. We can't just say, oh, well, I'm just living my truth and, it's all going to be fine. We have to put in the work. Otherwise, we're just going to get left on the sidelines. Women have more advantage than that for the most part.
But to go back, sorry to stop you, just to go back to my question, like, can you both understand why women have now become more masculine? So, for example, like a woman, her husband has left the family and now she's forced to become more masculine and work and just do more masculine things. So would you guys now look down on her because she's been forced to play a position that she had no choice but to play?
Yeah, but women leave more marriages than men do. Like 80% of divorces are initiated by women.
I forgot.
Yeah, I want to add to that.
And women always worked. They just worked in the house. Like, they always worked. They were in the field, on the plow. Like, if anything, they worked more in previous generations.
But they still kept their femininity. What I'm trying to say is that women have become more masculine. And I feel like, do you guys somewhat understand why? Or do you think we're just waking up and deciding, let's just be feminine? Because as much as I feel like feminism is a dark thing, there's a slight part of me that can understand why women have been forced to play this masculine role. And do you guys even acknowledge it? Or do you guys still think it's a mindset thing?
See, this is why it's not misogyny. I completely understand why. I think a lot of trans people, for example, are men turning into women because it's getting harder to perform as a man. And so they'd rather go and become women in that sense. The brainwashing is equal. There's an equal amount of brainwashing on the masculine side to become more feminine and to paint your nails and to act like that, and you see it being pushed by YouTube and these platforms. They encourage it, they clap it. They're very Yas Queen. They say Yas Queen to men. Mm-hmm. You see who the men that are getting propped up and the most famous pop stars and music celebrities. They're all You see the agenda.
And that's the problem with the world. The problem with the world is actually weak men. I in no way, shape, or form would ever allow it to come out of my mouth that it is women's fault. It is weak men that is letting these things happen. If men got together and said this promiscuity is bullshit, if men got together and said, hey, we need to step up and be stronger and be better, that is the only thing that will allow a woman to actually let go. And let him take that masculine role. The women hold on, and it's hard for women because they're like, fuck, can this fucker do it? Can he take care of me? Or is he going to come home and cry to me about his job? No, seriously. Like, because you come home, we had a heated conversation yesterday about why men should not go cry to their woman. I am a big believer that a man should never cry or show emotion from a woman. Yeah. And the reason is because if you were to translate the words, he's screaming, I can't take care of the situation. You can't trust me. And so the woman's like, man, I better get masculine real quick. It's like what you're talking about with if a man dies.
Yeah.
The women are scared that a man cannot, because men are weak. Men are fucking weak. And if men were stronger, women could trust them more and let go. And whether you like it or not, fall into that feminine frame, because I think that's what they're naturally propense to do.
So would you say weak men is the root of
Absolutely.
the feminist movement?
The weak men are the biggest problem in the world.
Weak men are in charge now. It used to be that the masculine leader, the fighter, somebody like that, the warrior would lead charge. But ever since technology, social media, you could be able to poke girls. I would say this all the time. Mark Zuckerberg and created Facebook. He was a nerd. And he started, he based Facebook off of Hot or Not. And so now this nerd was able to go and own the sexual marketplace. He was able to judge all these women who he would have never had access to before. And that was a shift in 2007. Now the nerd is in charge rather than the warrior.
So now that they've acknowledged that men can be weak, would you still say they're misogynistic?
Not can be, are. Men are weak. And that's why Andrew is so popular.
Yeah, but my point is that the fact that the both of you can actually sit here and acknowledge that men being weak is the cause of, just this destruction of relationships, could you now see that they are not misogynistic if they can see both sides of the, panel? Plane, whatever the saying is.
No comment.
Guys, I'm going to take a second to read Super Chat. Sneeko, I know you have to get going.
I can read some.
What?
Yeah, I got some time.
Okay, I don't want to. Okay. So, guys, I'm going to read all Super Chats that are over $20. So if you want me to read your Super Chat, make sure it's over $20 because we're not reading the ones below it. Okay.
Well, quickly, though, you can give a comment. It's okay. We don't need to keep on arguing. I understand you don't want to submit and you think it's suppressing, but we can be on the same page.
If you can submit to me, then we can be on the same page.
Submit to what?
As in my femininity.
Submit to your femininity?
Yeah. Come home to her, give her kisses, sometimes lie down.
Right.
Cook for me, clean for me, do what you think a woman needs to do, and have the baby.
So do you want a masculine man or a feminine man?
What? Obviously a masculine, obviously.
Men don't know each other.
So if you want a masculine man, if you want a masculine man, then I can't submit to you.
Oh.
Do you want a relationship or not? With somebody, not me.
Definitely not you.
Because what you're saying makes no sense. What
am I saying?
You're saying that you want me to submit to you and you want me to cook and clean for you, but also you want a masculine man.
Maybe let your guard down a little bit, become more vulnerable.
That's what men do, Men do cook, men do clean, men do submissive things.
Do you want a husband that's going to cook and clean for you?
Cooking is not submissive. Cooking is just a submissive.
It's a simple question.
But he's saying that. So are you saying that cooking and cleaning is, as a man, is submissive then?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Do you want a husband that cooks and cleans for you?
Why not?
Okay.
Have you ever been in love?
Of course.
Okay, so when you were with your girlfriend, were you always this I'm a man? Or you're not able to just chill out a little bit and cuddle with her, and sometimes she's the one giving you massage and you're giving her kisses and being cute to her?
I've tried, it doesn't work.
It does work.
Now
That's actually quite nice. A lot of men, the men that find the right women can do that. Not anymore.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
Yes. No, but I do know a lot of men, and I know this because that's the reason why I always say men talk so much, but they don't know each other as deep as they think they do, because men change completely in the private company of a woman as well.
But that's why power couples make all the big moves in this world. Because it takes a man and a woman.
I say there are power couples in the world, but I think most couples that are successful aren't really a power couple. It's just a very, very strong man and a very, very supportive on-board woman. Now, there is Jay-Z and Beyonce, but I do think they're outliers.
I don't think
Beyonce didn't write
they're not the best
and we
example.
don't know what's going on in their relationship. They don't seem that happy to me. I'm not going to lie. There's been public situations.
Well, they're fighting over who has the dick. Honestly, in a lot of ways. And I don't think that's healthy at all.
Yeah.
In no way do I think a man and a woman in a relationship should compete for who the man is going to be. And I think that's probably the overarching problem with feminism, is that you have a man and a woman in this power struggle over something that has traditionally been successful being the man's role. And that's not to belittle a woman. It's to put her in her grace and her beauty and everything that's wonderful about women. It's a lane thing. And nobody's, it's not about being right or wrong. It's what are we wired to do? I agree with you earlier. I would never drop my children off to a daycare with men running it. Women are better at it. They're nurturing. They have these skill sets. It's about that. It's not about, which one of us are going to take the lead, because I cannot find a relationship. And I would challenge you to find a relationship that's really going to work where the woman's the leader and the alpha. How can she respect him? And if she doesn't respect him, how can she love him?
I mean, there's the Queen, Margaret Thatcher. That's a good example of her being the Prime Minister. And
I would call it an outlier. I'd call it an outlier. If you took 100 relationships, you still probably wouldn't have the Queen or Margaret Thatcher in it. And I can tell you, the more dominant she gets, and Pearl will probably admit this, the bigger your channel gets, the harder it will be to find a man on your level because you make a lot of money.
Facts.
Are you ready for
I
that?
do okay.
Yeah, but you're very base, and you do understand the more influence you get, the taller you are, the more money you get,
the more intimidating
the harder it is. Yeah,
but you can still find a man.
Absolutely can.
I want to correct something. It's not intimidating to guys. No guy is intimidated by what I do. It's not intimidating.
In a sense,
it just doesn't typically work in relationships when the woman makes more than the man.
Yeah, so they're a bit more shocked to even go there.
No, they're not.
They are, because
shook.
they know that if they go try with Pearl because she's a G and I'm not, I'm gonna get hurt because I may fall in love with a girl that is not gonna look up to me. So I better not go there. I'm a bit shook still.
Pearl,
I have
how
a
many
question.
men do you know that are taller than you that make more money than you? How many?
Not many. But yeah, I know a couple, but not many.
Yeah.
I have a question. Is your like podcast more important to you than like settling down and having children?
No,
it's not.
Mm-mm.
Okay, then that's nice.
So you're gonna abdicate of the JPT thing.
So once, say you was to find someone, not to like interview, but if say you was to find someone and they would want you to like give up this whole podcast thing, and you are in love with them to have a family, would you do it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so refreshing to hear.
Yeah,
because not a lot of women would
I'd
do
sell
that.
the equipment though. I need to get my money back on it.
He'd say
I'll give it to you guys at a discount.
He'd tell you to put it in storage, you know. That's one of those things. But that's kind of what makes her a hero in a lot of ways, because she's sitting here doing this thing that's going to counteract really finding that dude, and she's out here telling so many women, hey, listen, you're probably going to be more happy like this, at the expense of honestly herself in a lot of ways. This is a very expensive penthouse. Right? Yeah. This is a very big channel. She has it's like, people talk about boss bitches, like she's employing a lot of people, you know, like you want to talk about God's work, like shout out to Pearl for that. You know, I'll argue with you on a subject if we have to, but let's call a spade a spade. What she's doing is pretty selfless in that regard.
Yeah, I guess so. She makes plenty of money as well from that.
But it makes it hard. It's going to make it harder for her, because even she knows she could get a man, right? But the likelihood of him being like, what are you, 5'11"? 6? Yeah. 6 foot tall?
Yeah.
6 foot tall. So that's down to 1% of the male population.
Before the money.
Right. Before the money and the clout. Like, think about, you're talking about 0.000. Put that in the delusion calculator.
And you guys still aren't listening.
To what?
I mean, Katy Perry's, her net worth is higher than her husband. She did all right. So,
well, I mean, what other option do I have? I would die alone. Okay, I'm going to read super chats. Guys, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Okay. Gauda Legends. Why does Sneeko have on feminine pants that is like skinny jeans women wore in the 90s? He is wearing pure nut hugger pants. Gora Legends. True. That's why Sneeko got his skinny jeans from the female department. Lucifer, question for the guys. Do you, Jay Waller, Troy, and Sneeko have girlfriends who are providing value to you as you speak? And if so, what is the value? Are your women actually helping you build your empire? How or so? You guys preach a lot. That's actually a good question that we can come back to. Nestle Hustle, here is 20 for the rapper chick to stop talking. Jasmine, wish the women would respond with an educational response instead of an emotional one. They're so defensive and make it about themselves instead of answering the question with just logic and justification. Lawrence Bullock, the goal of feminism is to erase the difference between men and women, not equality. Lawrence, so any criticisms of women is misogyny, direct from the feminism handbook. Silly Sausage, Hungry managed to find a way to help monetize motherhood by lowering income tax 25% for every child that they have forever. 4 kids, no tax. And guess what the feminists thought about that? You guessed right. They hated it. Zero Fallout, the myth of the stay-at-home wife needs to die. Throughout history, the majority of women have always worked in some way, be it in farms, field, the home, or at the market. Only in recent times has the average been able to have one. Manny F. During World War I and II, women had to go to factories and work in order to support the men there in war, and still took care of the children, then lived a much harder life. How are women today suppressed, and what would the panel do? And would the panel of women do the same sacrifice? Ash, I'm showing my support from showing my support, your Chi-Town brother. Keep aiming high. And let me refresh it really quick. Okay. So what was the question that they asked you guys? I want to find it again. Okay. Do you guys have girlfriends providing value to you as you speak? And if so, what is the value? Are your women actually helping you build your empire? How so?
Yeah, I have a couple girlfriends right now. I know it's Haram, but one of them runs my Discord server, and she's on top of things. When I was getting in a lot of drama, she was there, and she was able to take care of it and make sure that it was running properly. I have one that wants to become my assistant, and I'm training her to run my accounting and do the taxes and do the paperwork. When I get tickets, I'm going to try to get her to quit her job and be my assistant. The other one, working on traveling with her, and she recently got a big payout. So I'm going to go travel with her, and she's there. She helps me find other girls as well. So, and the other one needs work, but all of them add something to my life, and all of them help then play their role properly. If they were completely useless, I think that it's not worth my time or theirs.
What about you?
There's no woman in my life that's not an asset to me. You think like a pimp and love and provide like a hero. Straight up. Like, there's no woman that's not an asset.
What about you?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Do you have girlfriends providing you value as you speak? And if so, what is the value?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. They all provide value, because otherwise, why would you spend time with them, right? I mean, but the way that they provide value is not material, but it's sort of like in terms of sustenance, in terms of feminine energy, it's in terms of, you know, having somebody there who kind of gets you. There's many ways in which they provide value. 100%.
As many of you know, I was just banned on TikTok, and we are demonetized on a daily basis on this platform. If you want to help, please consider sending a super thanks below. Every donation helps, and it helps make what we do possible.